Jumbo Mambo Familia Angu. Mimi ni Eli-Ben-Eli. How are you? Karibu, 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 karibu. Well, you know, I'm a human being. I can make mistakes too. But I posted something on my community page and somebody told me, don't believe things. Fellow the boy. And the Lord spake unto Sir Edwards, and said to Sir Edwards, get ye your lucre and your gold into East Africa, to the village of Niabohanset, where dwelleth a young man by the name of Fellow the boy. Give him your gold, give him your wealth, and let him build ye there a mansion, a palace. And Sir Edwards reached out to Fellow the boy and said, Fellow, my son, I have heard a heavenly voice come unto me and tell me, give money unto Fellow the boy. Let him build ye there, let him purchase land for you, and build ye there a manse to rival the Trilla Villa in Manila. My theory is that the voice of God that this man heard was a recording from Fellow the boy that he managed to get to. My dears, Familia Angu, I feel like a big fool. I had doubts about Fellow the boy, and in spite of my doubts, I changed my mind about him. I made several comments about how I found this association with Otenga Jr. to be kind of strange, and maybe that was unjust, I don't know, but one of the things that I have never forgiven Marwa for was how badly he treated Fellow the boy, calling him a scammer. And, let me just say this. I don't know whether these accusations that Fellow is facing are true or not, but, I'm going to look at Fellow in the context of what he has achieved. He's helped an awful lot of people, and he's been his own man. There are questions that are being raised about him. Black Beauty was raising some questions. Where did he get the money to buy the motorcycle? Where did he get the money to buy the land? And, he's been dressing kind of fancy. And he always says that his mother is his mama is giving him this, whatever. And then that's another criticism this is a criticism that I'm going to make of Fellow the boy. It just seems a little manipulative to run around calling every man who is kind to you your father, and every woman who is kind to you your mother. I mean, come on, son. The woman who raised me, fed me, took care of me, I never did believe that she was my mother. The man who raised me, he told me that he didn't consider himself my father. And I learned a lesson out of that. I don't need to run around calling anybody my mama, my papa. Folks, please do your Babu Eli a big favor. Anyway, this thing has left me feeling a little sad, okay? Because let me finish one train of thought and get on to the other. Please like and subscribe. Help me to on my road to 1,000 subscribers. Please like and subscribe and share this video. I must humbly say, Marwa, if I was wrong to have felt disappointed in you for your attitude toward Fellow, please forgive me. Fellow, if it turns out that you are in fact guilty of what they accuse you of. You know, I used to be an attorney at one time in my life. I was a defense attorney, and I'll tell you something. I have never believed that it matters whether a person is guilty of what they're accused of. All of us are guilty of something. Okay, I was a young man once. I made mistakes too once. So I won't judge you. At any given moment, what we have done in life is only part of who we are. And you've done a lot of good in life. You know, you've done a lot of good, and you have struggled to raise yourself out of poverty and everything. So my compassion and my love goes out to you. And if you have made a mistake, if you did make a lot of mistakes, just change your life. Change your life and don't do it any further. But, you know, whatever happens, I think you have a good heart. You know, I think you over-push the thing about God, you know, but I wish you well. You know, I feel a lot of compassion for you. I made mistakes as a young man. I made a lot of mistakes, you know, and that's one of the reasons that I don't consider myself a reactor. I go with what my heart tells me, and I will say this. I'm very familiar with the evidentiary laws of the court systems of America. And there are people who come on here, and I respect where they're coming from. They talk about how they want all of the receipts before they give before they say anything about anything. You know, 99% of dealing with factual matters in a trial comes not from the facts that you have. That is very important, but it's how you view those facts. So for me, it's not as important to have receipts as it is to have an overall feeling for what it is that I'm looking at. You know, and there have been a lot of times in my life, including now. I'm not a wealthy man. I understand what motivates people who make mistakes like allegedly fellow is making, because right now we don't really have any proof that any of that is true. Having said that, you know, is it okay for somebody to go around taking other people's monies, embezzling, misappropriating? No, of course it isn't right. Okay, but on the other hand, is it right for somebody to take a man who is poor and basically in need of charity himself, okay, give him a lot of money to do a project and not pay him anything for his time? If that man turns around and does what any normal human being would do in that situation, which might be developing sticky fingers, who's to blame? If you see a hungry dog in the street, starving, you don't bring him home and let him loose among your chickens to guard your chickens. You assume that he might kill a couple of your chickens and eat. You know, so if what they are saying about fellow is true, fellow was set up for failure. Think about who he is. A poor orphan. Among the Kurias, he's treated like a charity case. People are friendly to him and everything, but you kind of sense that he's on another level, another status. They treat him kindly, but it's not like if he's one of them. You know, so I don't know what he did, but I'm worried about him. And there's one lady who seems to have all of her facts correctly, and she's just saying she wants to see him go to prison. Let me tell you something. Don't waste that on anybody. Don't waste that on anybody. You know, and in Islam, we are told that Allah will look at our behavior. As all of you know, I happen to believe in both Judaism and in Islam. In Judaism, in Islam, pardon me, we are taught that Allah will look at your behavior. And if you've done one kindness, if you've done just a little bit, if you've done something good out of your heart, He'll forgive you for a lot of things that you may have done wrong. Fellow the boy has a good heart. You know, he's helped a lot of those women that are widows. He's helped orphans. And a cynic might say, you know, yeah, whatever. Maybe those women are his girlfriends, and maybe some of those children are his children. And maybe it's suspect that he goes around giving candy to children. That's classic child molester behavior. You can say what you want to say, and some of it sounds plausible. Forgive me if I am being a fool. I think Fellow the Boy is a good-hearted man. And if he's made mistakes, there are a lot of people that are good-hearted people who make mistakes too. Okay, in this world, a lot of people get used to believing in people that are 100% good or people that are 100% bad. Human beings are more complicated than that. I'm not going to mention any name, but I reached out to a couple of reactors at the time that the scammers of Nyabohanse were picking the flesh off of the bone of Baba Ann. And the man was going around drunk, and his daughter treated him like if he was a piece of doo-doo, and it was a heartbreaking thing to see. And I reached out to one of these people who I think is eventually going to set themselves up to as a judge over Fellow. And I said, you know, you people in Kenya should intervene. This man is being taken advantage of. He's a drunk. He's irresponsible. That person said to me, that's the way we do business in Kenya. You know who you are. Please remember who you are. You told me that's the way we do business in Kenya. Kenya apparently tends to be kind of heartless, and those that are can be taken advantage of are taken advantage of. If that is the case, then Fellow the Boy has just acted like everybody else in Kenya. You know, and to this day I don't understand why more people were not outraged to see the advantage that family was being taken of, how they were being ripped off. Nobody said a word, you know. And let me again remind you, please, if you haven't, take a moment to subscribe to my channel. I am needing your subscriptions. Please use your magic button, your magic finger, and hit that subscribe button. You know, I lived in America for most of my life, and I have never met anybody called Sir anything. What? Sir Edwards? Who the hell calls him? Who does that? Who calls himself Sir anything in America? England maybe, Canada, but I don't know. There's something phony about that name. And I don't, you know, let's just assume for the sake of argument that Fellow did what he was accused of doing. Who calls himself Sir anything in America? There are titles in America. There are people that are called doctor. Lawyers call themselves Esquire, even though they're also doctors of law. Okay, professors at universities and colleges, they're called professor. I have never heard of anybody in the United States called Sir anything. In England, yes. In Canada, yes. Not in the United States. There is something profoundly phony about somebody who is called Sir Edwards from America. Really? Sir? We don't believe in aristocratic titles in America. We just don't believe in that. Nobody's called Sir anything. For complicated reasons, lawyers refer to themselves as Esquire, okay, at times. But Sir? Never heard of that. So Sir Edwards, it strikes me as being a fraud. Okay, he may have been somebody who set himself up as, what do you think when you hear the title, sir? You think of an aristocrat, and you think of somebody with wealth. Maybe this is just another scammer or somebody who is pranking fellow the boy in a really bad way. They pranked him. Yeah, they gave him money. But maybe this was a supporter of somebody else who wanted very, very badly to show people that fellow the boy is just another, just another scammer. You want to know something? I forget who it is. I think that it's Black Beauty. She said something that I completely agree with. She said that she does not like to touch anybody's money or get involved with charity. Believe me, I understand. It's not that you don't care about other people. It's just that it's very easy when you're handling other people's money for you to get accused of doing something wrong. Let me tell you a story about me to make my point. When I was about 16 years old, 17 years old, I started a business. And it caused me all kinds of trouble, but it generated money. And at one point, my father ended up working for me. My father. I was a kid, but he was my employee. And every now and then, I would do something that my father didn't understand I was doing. I was living very, very simply. Money didn't mean much to me, but I started saving money. But every now and then, without explaining anything to him, I would take money that I should have been paying myself and add it to my father's check. This is a man who said he wasn't my father. I would just add it to his check. This is a man who had thrown me, him and my mother had put me out of the house. But my attitude was, so what? It's not about whether if they love you. It's about, do you love them? And if you love them, you take care of them that way. And I would give him extra money, and he got confused. He got confused. He saw that I was giving him extra money some weeks, and some weeks I didn't. So he called my mother and everything, and accused me of stealing from him, and told me, look, you paid me this much on this day, and now you're paying me this and that. When I saw what was really up, number one, I wasn't going to embarrass him by telling him, old man, I'm helping you out on some weeks, okay? I just looked at him and said, so you think you've caught a big thief? And he goes, something is wrong here. And I started to laugh, and I walked out. I never said anything to him about it. Sometimes, people falsely think you're dishonest when you're not being dishonest. And, there were other times, from the time that I was a very young person, I think I was like 14, I ended up being involved in business and helping, at one point, my father, the cousin of my mother's, to start grocery stores, and they were making good money. And the point is that I've been involved in business in one way or the other at various points of my life. I used to be a store manager for a very big company. Okay. Am I gonna sit here and tell you that I was a perfect saint, that I never did anything wrong? No, I did things that were wrong. But I never did anything wrong to my own family. And I never did anything wrong to my friends. And I never did run around after my own. The man who raised me told me that he didn't consider me his child and everything. No, I never called another man father again. Never. And my advice to fellow the boy is, going forward, don't be so ready to call people your mother or your father or whatever, because maybe you made the mistake I made as a young businessman. You know, you even if you don't get along with a man who raised you, you still want to help him. And in your kindness, you end up being accused of being a liar or a thief or whatever, when in fact you're actually giving him, you know, when you're giving him money as opposed to taking from him. So my point is that there's so many ways that this whole thing can be judged as being wrong. Before I conclude this tape, I want to say something. I want to say something to Rocio Cabrera, better known as Salvador. Rocio, be very incredibly careful. Okay? I have watched you, and you have been on I Am Marwa's channel begging for chocolates, begging for cosmetic supplies and everything. It is obvious to me that you do not have a lot of money, which is fine. But let me explain something to you. If you carry a child within your womb for 9 months, you will come to love that child a great deal, and you don't want that child taken away from you. I used to do family law. I used to practice family law. There is nothing worse than when a woman from one country lives in another country, has a child, and comes to realize that that man is a fool, or that man is not somebody that she wants to be with, so she tries to take her child and go back home. That child will never leave that country. Think about having children for Marwa twice, because I promise you that if you do have children and you decide that you do not want any part of a polygamous marriage and you try to leave with your children, the person who will end up raising those children will be congrats mom. Okay? No Kenyan court is going to rule in the favor of a foreign national when it comes to a custody matter involving a child born in that country. And even if you have a child with Marwa from in Argentina, in Mexico, wherever it is, if Marwa ever takes that child back to Kenya, you don't have enough money to fight the battle that you will have to fight in the courts to get the child back. It will not happen. That's what happens to a lot of American women who have Nigerian husbands that they break up with, and the Nigerian husband takes the children and goes back to Nigeria. Sometimes they never see those children again. So think twice before you rush to have children out of wedlock with a man who has made it very clear that he's a polygamist. Because at some point or the other, you as a Westerner may feel very offended if he has second and third and how many wives he wants to have. And at that point, you may want to go back home. You will go home by yourself. Your children will not go with you. And if I'm wrong about this, I'm wrong. But something tells me that if you're not careful, you're going to find that out the hard way eventually. At any rate, familia Angu, asante asana for watching my video. And I haven't been all that enthusiastic about making videos because of the holidays. But I will start making my videos regularly. Please pray for me, pray for my health, and may God bless each and every one of you. Happy Kwanzaa. I hope you have a joyous holiday season. New Year's is coming up. May New Year's prove to be a blessing to you and all of your family. In the meantime, once again, asante asana. Kwaheri. Bye-bye.